Welcome back, Dama Boots. So today I thought I'd take us a slightly different direction. We just got past Rohatsu, so it's a good time to make a change. It's a good time to kind of like take things a different direction. So we'll be doing Jataka 104, which is turning misfortune around, the Seiya Jataka. And I do this for a specific reason, which you'll see a little bit later, which I'll talk about. Bear with me. So it was while staying at Jedavana that the Buddha told this story about a courtier at the king of Kosala. In Savatthi, there was an intelligent and hard-working young man who rose quickly in the court. Those who have read the Hagakure will know that those who rise too quickly inevitably gain the consternation of those around them. And this is also true here. Of course, this made many in the court jealous. Some of the other courtiers began slandering him and spreading rumors about him. The king believed these stories and without any further investigation, ordered that man be arrested. He was cruelly bound in chains and thrown in prison. The charges against him were so serious that he was kept in solitary confinement. Rather than resist or object to this treatment, however, the young man trusted in his innocence and maintained his peace of mind. With his mind at peace, he meditated in the silence of his cell, achieved insight into the true nature of existence, and attained the first path. A nice start. That's the stream enter. Eventually, the king learned that the young man was innocent and had him released. The king not only restored the man to his old position, but honored him even more than before. The young man hastened to Jedavana to pay his respects to the Buddha. After offering flowers and incense, he respectfully sat at one side, which you have seen me do. We have heard that ill fortune befell you, the Buddha said, speaking graciously to him. Yes, venerable sir, he replied, but I took the opportunity to practice, and as I sat in prison, I attained the first path. Well done, friend, said the Buddha. You are not alone in turning misfortune into good. Long ago, too, a wise man did the same. At the man's request, the Buddha told the story of the past. Long, long ago, when Brahmadatta was reigning in Varanasi, the Bodhisattva was born as the king of his queen consort and was named Kamsa. He was educated at Takasala, and at his father's death became king. He ruled wisely, observing the 10 duties of a king, giving alms, practicing virtue, and observing the Uposatha days. Not long after the coronation, a courtier committed adultery with one of the king's wives. Some servants noticed what was happening and reported the matter to the king. The king investigated, determined that it was true, and banished the offender. In a neighboring kingdom, the man became a trusted confidant of the king and urged his new master, that is the king, to invade Kasi, to invade this place where this guy's living. Right, to invade Kamsa's kingdom. At first, the king didn't believe that so large a realm could be conquered, but the courtier was so convincing that the king prepared for war and led his army to Varanasi. Right? When King Kamsa was told that a rival king was outside the walls, he refused to allow his generals to fight. I want no kingdom that must be kept by doing harm, he declared. Do nothing at all. The invading army surrounded the city. Again, the generals approached King Kamsa and urged him to let them defend the city and to capture the invader. I will not fight. Open the city gates, he ordered. Then, surrounded by his court, he seated himself on his throne. The invading army entered the city and took complete control. Finding no resistance even at the palace, the invading king ascended the dais and ordered his soldiers to bind King Kamsa and all his ministers in chains and throw them into prison. Then he sat on the throne and declared himself king of Kasi. From the darkness of his prison cell, King Kamsa extended thoughts of loving kindness to his captor. Meditating on loving kindness, he attained jhanic concentration, which was so powerful that the invading king began suffering great torment. As he sat on the throne, his body seemed to be on fire, and he cried out in pain. He asked his generals and advisors why this was happening to him. "It must be because you have cast the righteous king into prison," they replied. "Surely that injustice is causing this intense pain." In agony, he hurried to the prison and begged forgiveness from the unoffending king. After being forgiven, he personally escorted King Kamsa to the palace and placed him once more on the throne. "From now on, let us live in friendship. You may leave your enemies for me to deal with." When he learned of the evil counselor's grudge, he punished the man and turned with his army to his own capital. Seated on his throne and surrounded by his ministers, King Kamsa declared, "The best course is to follow is always virtue and right action. By treating a rival with loving kindness, I saved hundreds of men from death and battle. By extending loving kindness to all the world, one will gain rebirth in heaven amongst the virtuous." In time, King Kamsa relinquished the white umbrella, retired to the Himawat, and became an ascetic. Meditating intensely on loving kindness, he perfected the 5 extraordinary powers and the 8 jhanas. Having concluded this story, the Buddha identified the birth, as he always does. "At that time, Ananda was the marauding king, and I was King Kamsa," said the Buddha. So what we have here, and the reason that I kind of wanted to bring this up, I had hoped that our National Guard teams around the world, some of whom were here just until recently, or maybe they are still here, I don't know, would be able to hear me talk about protection and the armor of, the armor of loving kindness. But loving kindness is not just an armor. It's not just a shield. It's also a sword, right? It is not just something that we would put on. It is not just something that we use to protect ourselves. It is also something that we can take and we can send out to others to achieve things, to achieve good results, to achieve better results, right? We're not talking about like a weapon to kill people. We're not talking about like a weapon to hurt people. We're talking about a weapon to do what is right, a weapon for righteousness, a tool that can be used, that can only be used really in the defense of others, for the protection of others, right? What we have here in loving kindness, right? We watched as the invading king, as a marauding king, right, on the orders of somebody who is clearly going to hell for quite a while, right? So we saw that this king, on the advice of this terrible person, did terrible things, but the Buddha did not stain himself, or the future Buddha, right? And this is his past life. The Buddha did not stain himself. The Buddha offered loving kindness. And it was so powerful and so strong that it actually made the other king start to feel physical pain. Right? I know there's we commonly talk about the saying, if you really want to get back at your enemies, don't hurt them. Do better. Right? Make them jealous. Make them see the value in your way of doing things. This goes even further than that. This says if you really want to get back at somebody who's done you an injustice, if you really want to get back at your enemies or your rivals, you don't do so by anger. It doesn't work. You do so by loving kindness. You do so by being the better person. By really sticking it to them, by being that good person, by being that honest, noble, virtuous person, you stick it to them in a way that they can't come back from, because they're not virtuous. They aren't. So I guess what I wanted to do with this is take it a little bit different than we had done. What I want you to do is try this. Try in your meditation for the next week, really practice loving kindness for somebody you don't like, right? And we've done this in the past. You guys have seen me do the moon disc meditation, or or various other similar forms, right? The moon disc is probably the most common one, where every so often during the meditation, you start out with a moon disc that's about this size, and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. And the moon disc is a symbol for the compassion that you have, right? So it starts out very small, and it starts out with yourself, because you have to have compassion for yourself, right? That's part of being virtuous as well. Then it's people you like, then it's people you don't know, then it's people you dislike, right? And that's what we're trying to get to, right? Build up to that over the next week. Build up to that. Meditate on loving kindness. Practice loving kindness for them, right? Really put your effort into a deep, meaningful, very, very powerful, very strong emphasis in your meditation on embracing and practicing loving kindness, even for those who have wronged you, even for those who, in most situations, nobody would be offended if you said, no, screw that person, screw them, they're not worth it. Try this, right? Be that person. Practice that loving kindness. Practice that virtuous behavior in your meditation. Try it. All right, and with that, I'm going to